Hello, and welcome to Wyverns Weirdos Fathomless, D&D Podcast set in the world of Fierlor. I am your Dungeon Master, 𝘍𝘁𝘵. Joining me, as always, are Eddie, playing Tibble, Mitch, playing 𝘧𝘀, Joe, playing Alton, Jake, playing Fishman, and Laura, playing 𝘠𝘢. Let's jump into it. After regrouping at their new friend 𝘠𝘢𝘆's abode on the outskirts of town, the crew of the Polaris, or those remaining of the landing party, being 𝘧𝘀, Alton, and 𝘧𝘀, fled from the 𝘬𝘭𝘭𝘪𝘆 and decided on the path ahead and trying to rescue the captain and anyone else potentially under the influence of this dreaded 𝘬𝘭𝘭𝘪𝘁. From there, they followed a lead based on 𝘠𝘢 recognizing one of the figures off to the side of the fake Tibble in the 𝘬𝘭𝘭𝘪 as the local priestess, and so investigated the church's undercroft, where they came upon all manner of oozes and notes were discovered by 𝘧𝘀 on oozy experimentations by someone, including what seemed to be descriptions of what would become the 𝘬𝘭𝘭𝘪. Finally, at the back reaches of the undercroft, the party found several figures locked up and unconscious. Those of Tibble, their quarry, 𝘬𝘮𝘀, and 4 𝘬𝘮𝘁 inhabitants of the island. Among them, the mayor that 𝘧𝘀 thought he had met earlier that day, and the priestess, 𝘬𝘭𝘭𝘁. So, you were able to successfully unlock the doors to free everyone, and I believe what efforts are being made to bring people to?
I would assume there is at least a token effort. I would think that 𝘧𝘀 at least would be trying to, wake up the people that are important to the mission currently, which is the captain and our quarry. Not magically, just with medicine and...
Okay. Yeah, roll me a medicine check.
It's a 19.
A 19. Okay. Yeah, so Tibble, after having been knocked unconscious by, you're not entirely sure what, you have vague recollections that we have discussed a bit, discussed to an extent, and left for you to fill out in a bit more detail if you would like. You awake in this, what appears to be a dungeon, in the arms of 𝘧𝘀, trying to bring you to consciousness.
So Tibble, he coughs a little bit, when Tibble was found, just as obviously I myself was not present, was he connected up to some sort of machinery, or was he just like asleep, or what was
just asleep, unconscious on the cold hard ground here.
Okay.
I will note you are at 1 hit point.
Perfect. Thank you. I was going to ask, but and I thought I don't want to. So wonderful. So Tibble coughs a little bit, and then he kind of eyes and looks at Neris, and he's like, "Neris, lad, what happened? How'd I get here? Where are we?"
Ask a lot of questions. What happened is you were taken. Something assumed your form and attacked us. As to how you got here, that I don't know. I assume you were brought down here by something. And where are we? We are, if you can believe, beneath some form of
Are you all right, lad?
I am most assuredly not.
I can't imagine you would be. You can put me down now. I think I'll be able to stand.
Neris does so.
Kind of has this look of concern on his face, and looks around and sort of takes stock of where he is. Now, would Tibble know the appearance of their charge, whose name currently escapes me?
You would
would he have ever met him, maybe?
Roll me a history check.
I was worried you'd say that, because I lost me dice. Oh, there they are. He, when he does notice the few other unconscious beings, and also another figure that he does not recognize, he does turn to Neris and say, "You seem to have made a few new friends, lad." Also, for the history check, that is a 16.
I would say you've probably had a passing encounter with Aldrin before, enough to kind of get an idea of how to recognize him.
And Aldrin's still unconscious?
Yes, at this stage.
Alton would be, he would have started looking over all the people to see if he can help them. So that's what's wrong. After looking very smug about opening the other locks.
Right.
And to add to that painting of that scenery, Rue is sort of, to Tibble, an incredibly enormous, crouched, hunched over kind of like figure in both very fine and very worn black and gold sort of finery, and like a big tricon cap and a long white bird mask. And they're sort of just like doing the little like steeply hand things, like just hunched over. Seems to be like the vibe is generally they're just like watching over, like they're just like crouched over watching what Alton's doing with no particular facial remarks because, well, it seems like they're sort of like they want to do something, but they're also like, well, this is the senior doctor. So just this very creepy giant figure just hunched over. That's what Rue's doing currently.
In reference to Captain saying we seem to have made a few new friends, Neris responds just emotionless. We had to, as some of our old friends were unable to assist.
No sign of the fishman, then?
Not currently, no. However, as they are not in any of these cells? So your eyes are completely fine? Or they are dead?
Tibble, he puts his hands on his hips and he's kind of assessing around. His eyes run over Eldrin, who's being looked over by Alton, and over the new friend, and also over the other figures laying there. And he looks up at where Neris would be standing above him. It's like, I'm sorry I wasn't around to help, lad. I'm sorry for the trouble. You've done well. You found Eldrin. That's what matters.
Neris blinks a couple of times, but doesn't respond. And instead goes to try and do what he can for any other unconscious individuals.
When Neris does that and he walks off, Tibble, he has this sad little look on his face, like this little look of concern. And he, after a moment, shakes it off and walks over to where Alton and their new friend is. And he kind of taps Alton on the shoulder in a sort of friendly manner, just to let him know that he's there. And goes up to Rue and... I don't believe I've made your acquaintance. Tibble Clover, I'd like to extend my sincerest gratitude at assisting my crew members in, well, completing the mission and in retrieving yours truly, assuming that was part of the mission. Fine if not, but either way.
Rue sort of turns his head around as he was like kind of just looking over Alton quite easily, because Rue is much taller than Alton, even crouched over. And they sort of like that blank sort of face with these gleaming white blue sort of like lights behind the glass of the plague mask, looks around and then down at where Tibble is. And they seem to like kind of like jostle a little bit with surprise, which makes kind of like a bit of a clicking noise. But then they kind of like just still and regard Tibble as he continues to introduce himself and thank Rue potentially. And then Rue looks down at his hand, and then they extend a very long black gloved claw kind of like hand, like pinching the thumb on the forefinger to like kind of like grasp Tibble's hand, and like shake it very, very gently, probably like a little bit too gently. And then
Tibble would take that handshake, and Rue would immediately feel just such a disarming strength and like a very firm, strong handshake from Tibble, which is probably the last thing that he would expect.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. Captain Tibble of the Polaris, the real one this time, I hope? I am Rue Friday, Dr. Nurse of Acherin Island. You certainly have a strong handshake. Most impressive.
And then Rue kind of like tries to do a stronger handshake back, but Rue is quite strong as well, so probably equally as strong as Tibble.
Tibble barks out this laugh and then wheezes a little bit because he is still quite injured.
Quickly move hand away.
And he's like, you've got quite the handshake yourself there. So,
thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Rue. Thank you again
it is a
for helping.
pleasure to meet you in a more disposition, shall we say. Are you well?
Well is a relative term. I'm alive, I've got a heartbeat, and I'm surrounded by friends, so I'd say I'm well.
This
As
is
well
true.
as I can be right now.
That's a very good positive attitude. You are doing incredibly well, and you're taking this distressing news very, very well. I'm very proud of you, as I'm sure we all are.
Oh, I like this one, Alton. I don't know what accent that was. Alton. I like this one.
Yeah, they're very friendly. You in good condition, Captain?
Well, I know that I can't josh you, lad. So, health-wise, not in the slightest, but I'm standing and I'm walking. So, if your services are needed more for Eldrin here and our other new friends, see to them first. That's Captain's orders.
All right, then I had probably better get them conscious. Rue, actually, you're a medic. Would you have a look at the captain here?
I would be glad to, if you do not have issue with that, Captain.
And there is a degree of hesitancy in sort of the way that this giant figure is sort of considering this small mouse folk.
Tibble has this very funny sort of look of shock go over his face at Alton not only listening to Tibble's captain's orders, but also then deferring work to another healer.
This is not common.
Yeah, and he's like, well, if it's all right with Alton, it's certainly all right with me. Be a chance to get to know each other better.
Of course. You now just asking, as I need to do this as a precautionary measure, you do not require amputation at this stage, do you?
Well, not as far as I'm aware, but I suppose that's your job to figure out, isn't it?
We should assess damage and run tests. We will see.
And then Rue kind of like steps back a little bit from where they were watching Alton and kind of like to properly consider Tibble, looks him over and is like,
do you require an initial sedative for this? It may help calm you. This is a very distressing situation. So, though you are behaving in good cheer, do not feel that if you are distressed, that this reflects poorly on you, or like you need to tough it out, as they say. We're all very proud of you.
Your bedside manner, lad, is impeccable, but I assure you, I know when to tough it out and when to cry it out, and I'm doing all right, truly.
At that first
Captain's
comment,
honor.
Kind of like, it's very hard to tell, but like if like a little like plague doctor mask little creature could be beaming, that's what they're doing. But they're just like little head shake, and then just like a little nod, like
good. That is good then. Let us see.
And then they will very carefully sort of like hunch down close, and it kind of looks like their eyes go a bit brighter as they're going to look over Tibble to see if Tibble is well, which is already
Tibble
true,
is on one hit
Tibble's on 1 hit point. So let's call it an insight check.
And that is what Rue would ascertain.
It would
Does
probably
Rue
be a
ascertain anything else
medicine-
about Tibble, I guess?
Yeah. But for his physical health, it would be medicine. For mental, it would be insight.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess Tibble's been hit with most likely psychic energy, so I suppose. Cool. That's all right. The medicine is a 17.
17. I mean, at this point, yeah, he's probably not, doesn't seem to be suffering from the same haziness at this point that the others were upon immediate interaction with the Oblex.
I presume Rue would notice there might be a bit of blood near Tibble's the fur of Tibble's ear or something, like there was of Neris's ears.
Yes.
Cool. So Rue just is very silent the whole time they're looking around over Tibble, which would not take very long at all. But then they sort of like nod, they're like,
like with Quartermaster Neris. This does seem to fit the pattern. You must be in great pain then.
Sorry, lad. Quartermaster Neris.
Rue kind of like looks
down
over.
Here too?
Rue kind of like looks over. What's Neris doing right now, I guess?
Neris is doing a couple of things. Outwardly, he is attempting to wake some of the locals, if you will. However, you do see he's not talking or communicating, and he's almost just sort of going through the motions. You do see what little you can sort of glean from his face. His eyes are flicking back and forth, like he's scanning something that isn't there.
And I think Alton would be making his way over to Neris as well. He would have left Rue and Tibble.
And Nizen is probably going to approach Neris as well and say, sir, in lieu of the captain's poor health at the moment, while he is being dealt with, I thought I would approach you with this. Now that we have found the actual 𝘬𝘬𝘪, did you want me to try to sneak around and get out of town and get to the fishman and bring him back?
I believe that may be a wise course of action. I think we need whatever help we can get. Do be careful.
But don't worry, caution is my specialty. And yes, I'm aware that like an hour or two ago I rushed into combat, but I was not expecting to be gooped down. I was hoping to get around the corner for very quick attacks.
Is perfectly fine. The past is for learning.
Yes, maybe now you should expect to be grouped down. Keep an eye out for it.
Yes, I know the capabilities of 𝘬𝘢 now. Right, I will be back as soon as is practically possible. Are we regrouping here or at Monsieur Friday's domicile?
You should check on Friday's accommodation first. If you do not find us there, then potentially scope around town, but do not go into the center.
All right. All right. I will hopefully be back before too long.
Hold fast, Mr. Nizen.
Of course.
Best of luck.
Thank you. And he practically blends into the shadows as he departs.
Rue turns back to Tibble while this conversation is happening, and kind of like leans a bit closer. And again, their voice is very echoey. Kind of seems to like just be sort of like shaking through like the whole point of the mask. And they're like,
there were some problems, I believe. Well, Neris said that he befell the same problem as you. We did see a duplicate. I believe this has probably been quite traumatic for your quartermaster. But I also believe that he seems to be a person, much like everyone in this group of your crew that I have met so far, that does not like to speak of it. So we shall keep it private for now.
Rue, I know you're not one of me crew, so I can't and wouldn't
You're correct.
expect... I can't and wouldn't expect that if I gave you orders, you'd follow them. But if it wouldn't trouble you, could you give me just a rundown of what's happened while I've been under?
I can try. We shall do
Just
it
while
while
you're
we...
attending to me.
We shall do it while we apply some sort of painkiller. Are you averse to magic?
Not at all, lad. Not at all.
And then Rue kind of like crouches down and sort of they will talk like very quietly, which seems to be not like, it's almost like you just get a little volume bar, you turn it down to the point. Tibble's got big mousy ears, so I presume very good at hearing. And Rue will kind of recount some factors of that. If you want to RP that, I'm more than comfortable to. But specifically,
I don't think it has to be RP'd. I think
basically what
is
Rue
basically
has
wanting
seen
a
and observed,
mission report of
and
sorts.
what Nero's also said happened before we basically ran away from a goop monster version of Tibble. And while it's happening, Rue's sort of like again, Tibble will be able to notice because he's very close to her at this point. Like Rue's got sort of little, like cape, like gold trimmed cape, and like sort of like this heavy sort of leather tattered like apron. Seems to be some kind of like black armor or something like that, but there has like a seam of like incredibly brilliant light, that same blue white as their eyes, which seems to brighten as Rue sort of like reaches around and kind of like very carefully clasps, like with so much gentleness, the points of Tibble's temples, and you would sort of feel like on contact this buzz of magical energy that like I don't know, it probably would have been, Tibble would have felt a similar kind of energy, kind of like just a warmth surge through him whenever Janice has had to heal Tibble after combat, or if Tibble fell off a box or something like that. But yeah, and I'm going to cast Cure Wounds at a 2nd level. So just a moment. Hopefully I don't roll 2 1s. Let's see. 2d8 plus 1. All right, that's a 5. That's good. Okay, so cool. 5 and 8, so 13 points of healing plus 1. So 14 points of healing for Tibble.
Beautiful. That's perfect.
And then yeah. And then once they finish kind of recounting that, and that warmth sort of fades, they're kind of like nodding, like,
That shouldn't be everything, but it should be enough to get you out to safety and regroup. How are you feeling now?
Mentally or physically?
Both is important to me.
Physically, not 100%, but certainly better. Mentally, worried about me crew.
This is admirable and very understandable. You must be a great empath.
Is that some sort of magic thing? Because I don't have the touch of the magic, lad.
No, it's merely understanding how others feel. My father figure was like that too. That was why he was popular, as must you be if you have a crew that care about you enough to come down to this terrible place.
I do have a great crew, lad. And it's very kind of you to think that I have a good understanding of others' emotions. Fact of the matter is, it's actually quite opposite. But I try 110% to make sure to make up for that.
Then we are similar. I will assist more with healing if you wish, but it may be good to see what everyone else wishes to do currently. I do not know how much we have to spread and how much your doctor can heal with his medicine, respectfully speaking.
Our doctor? You mean our medic?
Yes, Dr. 𝘬𝘁𝘭𝘪 of the Polaris? That is his
Not a
station,
doctor,
yes?
lad.
Not a doctor?
No. He is our medic, though. Much prided, but...
And
unless he's gotten his doctorate within the time, well, that I've been out.
Rue kind of tilts their head, looking over where Alton is probably talking to Neris at this point, and is just like,
I thought we were the same. But
well, you're both medical?
That's true. As long as someone wants to help someone, that means they're a good person.
But Rue kind of straightens up a bit. And then still crouching because it's too small space really for Rue. And they kind of put their hands back into that sort of little creepy little hand pose.
Well, we should gather the crew and take stock.
Yes, getting out of here should be a priority. Otherwise, you may all again find yourselves with many more appendages than you previously had.
This oozing creature is still out there, yeah?
I believe so. The ones that we've fought do not seem to have the same constitution, nor the same magic power, or mind power, or whatever it is. I would so like to study it, but if it has taken many of the town, it is probably not a good thing. We can only hope it doesn't come down here.
I think, if our friend Eldrin was here to study it, assuming so, I mean, why else would you be here, really? Then maybe studying it isn't the best idea. He kind of motions over to where Eldrin is prone.
This is true. Perhaps he will have the answers. I must admit, Acherin does not have the sort of things that someone who has travelled upon the seas would appreciate. But perhaps I do not know Acherin well at all. Regardless, I'm sure taking stock of your crew will take the lead. I will look over the locals here, if that is all right.
Of course. Tibble.
And Rue nods and will go and look over at the others. I'm assuming Alton might have revived many of them, but if he hasn't, then Rue will look over at the rest of the bird folk.
Yeah, and Tibble would slowly make his way over to where I'm assuming Alton and Neris would be having their conversation.
Yeah, and Alton got a 19 on medicine, so he might have revived a few people.
Yeah, I think with the amount of time passed and the fact that he is a bit of a medical expert, by now Alton has probably gotten everyone up.
Yes.
Everyone up to the point where they're at least conscious.
Nice conversation. But yeah, while he was doing this, he probably would have crouched down, either can Neris do it as well, or maybe he was, so that they can talk more surreptitiously. Neris, the captain, everyone else. Do you know if it's really them? Do they look themselves to you? Do you know any magical way to tell?
I do not know. And I have been thinking on this since we found them. I do not know.
Shit.
The only way I can check is if they are possessed by some form of magic, but I don't think that is what this is.
Right, yes. It's quite different. Oh dear. Did any of your, he looks very reluctant. Any of those weird texts that you found in the office, did they shed any light on anything?
I believe some of them notes may be able to identify if one is afflicted, or at least we may be able to ascertain what someone looks like when they are not themselves, but I would need to study it further. I think for now we should be aware of everything and everyone and not take those we know for granted.
Yes, definitely. I mean, yes, it could be anyone. It could be Niza now that he's left as well. Oh, great. All right, well, if those two try to if any of those try to separate us, let's not let that happen.
No, we should absolutely stick to one group.
Yes, and let's stay prepared for some more combat. Wonderful. He looks like he should be, but who can really tell? Great. Okay. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page then.
Indeed. I think, hopefully, after a bit of a rest, I was feeling more of myself, at least with my memories. So hopefully, if we are able to have some form of rest and recovery, we may be able to use that time to see if there is anything wrong.
That's true. We can try to do some tests. Yes, I did feel the magical effects go away as well. We also might need to test if anything's happened to, Tibble's memory and brain and psyche and everything. Right, but first let's not get eaten by any oozes. And I'll make sure I can wake all the rest of these people up to potentially be those oozes who will eat us. Wonderful. And
Perfect.
we'll get out smelling salts and such. And looking at Tibble with some degree of wariness every now and then.
Okay.
So after a while, obviously after the end of his conversation with Brew, Tibble wanders up to Neris and Elton, and he's like, where's young Nizen gotten to?
He is otherwise preoccupied. You were incapacitated,
Yes.
so I assumed command, and he is conducting a mission on his own with us momentarily.
Is that the wisest with this ooze out and about? Not to, of course, with I wasn't around, lad, yet to make the decisions that you had to, but I don't know if that's the safest course of action right now. it is what it is. Just well, hopefully he returns safely with the fishman in tow. Did you discuss a place to meet? Is he meeting us back here?
He is not.
We're going back to our new friend Rue's abode. He'll know where to go.
Tibble, he looks at Neris and looks at Alton, and his brain's you can see him kind of thinking and ticking for a moment. And it's not something that you commonly see on your captain's face, is this look of like intense thought, like he's trying to figure something out. But after a moment, he looks between the both of you and he's like, yes, all right. Might be, now I could be completely misreading this, and if I am, apologies, I mean absolutely no offense, but might be for the wisest for you both to keep myself and 𝘬𝘪𝘨 and those townsfolk detained until such a time you can prove we're not contaminated or affected or something of the sorts. He goes into his pack, assuming he has his pack, but he goes into his pack and gets out a rope and sort of passes it. He looks between Neris and Alton, and seems to try and assess something, and then calls out and he's like, Rue, do you mind giving me a hand for a second?
And Rue kind of like looks up. They have been assisting reviving some of the bird folk, who I imagine are probably not wildly comfortable with Rue being there, but probably they would be groggy. I'm not too sure. What's the vibe there, Darby?
I think that's probably about accurate. That like some of them are wary, but just in general they're groggy because they've just been brought round.
Yeah, so if anyone was observing Rue, which I presume no one is currently, but like for the audience, Rue would be doing what they can, but they're very hesitant, and they can't. But they immediately turn around.
Yes, what can I assist with?
Dear, are you any good with fastening, lad? My two companions, while they are truly valued members of my crew, they aren't really deckmen. So I feel like they may be a bit more secure with someone who knows their way around the ropes.
I can do this, yes. Certainly.
Can you fasten me up then, lad? And 𝘬𝘪𝘨 as well. Possibly the townsfolk too.
For what reason?
Well, for Alton, lad, what's that fancy word for when one of the crew gets scurvy and we have to put him separate from the rest of the crew?
Oh, quarantine.
Quarantine, for quarantining purposes, I guess.
That's not really a scurvy thing, but I get what you mean.
What?
Right.
Of course.
So that's something that you're just volunteering for this.
Of course, lad. Don't get me wrong, I feel like it would put me at a disadvantage if we got accosted. However, I can't know for sure that whatever did happen to me won't happen again, or isn't still happening. So I'd rather keep you both safe. Well, the three of you, Rue, apologies. And Nyson as well, if he makes it back safe.
Of course, I would be happy to assist.
And then Rue kind of like turns to the other until like,
This has been proposed by the captain, not me. I'm saying this for the record. Do you consent to this?
Roll me a persuasion check.
oh, I should do the disadvantage, honestly. Let's have a look.
I did
my
consider
persuasion's
that.
not great
I
anyway.
did consider that, but you also have advantage from Tibble's speech, which cancels it out.
Okay, cool. Well, a flat roll is a 10, so
A 10.
it's a 50-50 here.
I was going to say I'm also happy for Tibble to try and convince them as well. Like if
They made a decision
if that would
not trust
affect
Rue.
at all.
I think
reasons.
𝘐𝘁𝘭𝘭𝘪𝘁 and 𝘬𝘁𝘭𝘁, the mayor and the priestess and the mayor would be fine with it. Would be understanding. 𝘐𝘁𝘭𝘏 and 𝘬𝘢𝘭, the other two here, would be a little more reticent, but they'll acquiesce with a bit of guidance from 𝘐𝘭𝘭𝘏 and 𝘬𝘁𝘭𝘏.
All right, and Rue will assist in tying these people up quite skillfully, I would say.
Yeah.
And Tibble would sort of lean across to them as they're getting tired, and he'd be like,
I much appreciate it. It truly is for the health and safety of, well, my companions, but also of yourselves. I'm sure you understand. Also, Captain Tibble Clover, pleasure to meet you.
he kind of reaches out with his bound hands to shake the hands of the others that are now conscious.
Okay. Yeah. 𝘬𝘁𝘭𝘏, seems to be male, average build, kind of muted feathers. Reaches out to return the offered hand. So, I'm 𝘬𝘁𝘭𝘏. I am the mayor of this little hamlet. So what brings you to our isles? Our part of the isles?
Well, unfortunately, that isn't something that within our business parameters I can disclose to you at this time, but I am truly sorry for the harm that has befallen your humble, quaint little village. Rest assured, I do not believe that we brought it about, but we will do everything in our power to ensure that it doesn't continue, if possible.
Ooh. Yeah, Tibble, can you roll me an insight check, and Rue as well?
Fucking getting Tibble.
Natural one from Rue.
Oh, shit. That's a 13.
Okay. You notice when you're talking about not bringing the threat to the hamlet, to the island, there's a look. You're not quite sure what, but there's a look that crosses 𝘐𝘭𝘭𝘏, the priestess's face.
Sorry, my dear, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Sister 𝘐𝘭𝘭𝘏. Local
Well,
priestess.
apologies to you, Sister 𝘐𝘭𝘭𝘏, for what has befallen you. As I said to your mayor, hopefully we can make amends of this situation.
Hopefully.
You had a apologies if this is a bit too forward. But you had a funny sort of look on your face before. You'll have to excuse me, I'm not the best with identifying things like that. Do you mind explaining what it possibly could have been about? And I absolutely mean no offense if it is something that can be taken as offense.
You're an interesting little man, aren't you?
I have been told so, yes.
This has been going on, clearly, for longer than you have been here. So it goes without saying that you did not bring it here.
Yes, but I just wanted to make that abundantly clear. Nothing wrong with a bit of clarification sometimes.
Of course.
Much how I asked you, and you clarified, which I appreciate.
It is very strange. I have not observed any of this, but clearly I'm not very observant. Please let me know if the ropes are too tight.
As Rakai finishes doing like a long kind of a little rope between everyone. And then just kind of nods at them.
Right, so quarantine protocols with possible possession. Actually, I can also do an insight check on Neris to see what he thinks of the whole situation.
Sure.
That is...
Neris is actively hiding his emotions.
I rolled a 21.
And so if you're actively hiding your emotions, that would be a deception check.
Deception.
Do you...
19.
19.
Ooh. I gleam a little bit.
Yeah, so Neris is... since the encounter with the snake-like slime creatures, maybe 5 minutes or so after that, after he found a bunch of knowledge and information and we're sort of out of combat, he's become very... not calm as such, but very focused on something. His sentences have become much shorter. He doesn't almost seem to be looking at people when he's talking, like he's focusing on something else. He is, every now and then there are conversations where he will very intently focus and then he'll be quiet for 30 seconds to a minute or so after it. But he appears very stoic, but definitely not in control, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, interesting.
He's trying to understand everything, yeah.
He's been thinking about something for a while, so it's not our previous conversation. Okay.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different thoughts that have come through. You occasionally see him almost muttering under his breath in several different languages.
Yeah. All right. Quarantine protocols. Goodness. So does this seem like a good place to hide out? Or should we move somewhere else? Neris?
So there appears to be at least no active threat here at the current moment. However, we are at the basement of a church, which is fairly close to the center of this village. Perhaps it would be safer if we were elsewhere.
Yes, that would be very nice. Would we be able to parade people around bound, though?
I don't think we could parade ourselves around.
Great.
The issue we have is getting from one location to another. Do we know if this was the only entrance to this downstairs area?
What do you know about this building, Priestess? Is there another way out?
No, there is the one entrance or exit to the Undercroft.
Charming. Love working through logistics. Actually, when exactly were you taken, Miss? This seems to be quite a localized area. Do you know much about what's been happening here?
I have no idea how much time has passed since my capture.
Oh, well, it is insert date here.
Interesting. I would say I've been gone a little over a week.
Right. And he just walks away from her and goes to Neris and just says, yeah, she's involved. Definitely involved.
That very short conversation with Alton and the priestess Neris was very focused in on that. And he responds with, perhaps we should maybe keep a closer eye on this particular individual. Or maybe we can talk to her a little more and find out what she knows.
Yes, certainly. Don't really like the idea of threatening a priest. Brings bad attention. She doesn't seem very forthcoming.
Most people aren't.
No, that is correct. Oh, wow, this is an exhausting situation.
Just remember, we will be out of this soon.
Right, yes, I hope so. The right people.
Lads.
It's getting stressed. Yes, yes.
Lads, if I may, Tibble calls across from wherever it is in the room that he is tied up. I know this kind of defeats the purpose of being quarantined and all with, well, who knows if what I say is what I say are actually accurate, or the thoughts of some other creature, or what. But assuming that my mind is still my mind, and that my faculties are still my faculties, I do not think it the wisest us stay in here, considering I'm assuming that the creature would have deposited us here.
Respectfully, I would also agree. It does not make sense to tarry here, especially when we do not know what the means of entering here has been for whatever was depositing these bodies here. Beyond anything else, if there is no other way down here, like has been suggested, then we are at the end of a long tunnel, which is a worse trap in a space that has many entrances.
I agree with Rue.
How do you suggest we get out unseen then?
I could call for help.
Your friend.
My friend may find me. Ham listens to the ground, after all. They could burrow here. It may make some noise, but it depends. Otherwise, I am extremely adept at providing cover of the sea air around us, so I may be able to obscure.
Tibble kind of looks around. Now, this underground room, assuming it's a room, is there any, like, sort of areas where the wall meets dirt, or where it seems not as particularly patched, like maybe, assuming it's bricked, that some of the bricks could be pulled away or anything?
Roll me an investigation check.
Not good for Tibble. He's bad at using brain. 12.
12. You look around and you find there is a part of, like, at the back of the cells where there's a bit of there's a bit more wear to the brick and stone, that while it doesn't quite expose the dirt behind it, dirt and earth behind it, it wouldn't take too much force from a creature capable of tunneling to break through it.
If I may, and once again, sort of defeats the purpose of the quarantine, but I promise that I'll let you tie me up again once we're through, but I could borrow us out.
You could try, but I might have a faster solution.
Oh,
if
no,
this is the path we choose.
I'm quite fast at borrowing, I promise you. I borrow as fast as I walk, lad. And I'm quite strong, so I can make a sizable hole.
That is impressive.
Yes. Young Alton, you've not seen me on a land mission before. Not quite like this. Suppose you haven't seen this particular talent.
No.
Family inheritance, I guess.
Of course, of course.
Perhaps it may be wiser, instead of borrowing from either party. Thank you both for your inputs. I don't believe any of the creatures we have encountered so far have had any form of vision. I don't know what everyone here knows about creatures with no vision, but they use other means to ascertain their prey's location, some of which being vibrations, which I believe borrowing makes a lot of. Perhaps it may be wiser to take the efforts put for our friend Friday here to attempt to hide our location as we move, or attempt to move silently through the outskirts of the town.
I can do that. My only suggestion is that we do this very soon, as we have been down here a while, and most certainly noise was made while we were getting to the 𝘬𝘭𝘭𝘪𝘆. Everyone was here to rescue them.
Yeah, we were not subtle.
No. So we should certainly leave soon. Either way, but I can certainly hide people for a time, as long as you're stealthy and stay near me.
It be your call, lad. You've got seniority here while I'm quarantined.
As your command, Captain. Mike ready to leave.
Rue kind of very uncomfortably corrals the people on the rope and sort of gestures for them to all. So Rue's going to go and investigate, make sure there's no slimes waiting just outside the door or anything like that.
Tibble will
check.
also assist in rounding up the people who are quarantined.
Yeah.
Be like, come on, lads and lasses and otherwise. It's time for us to tarry on.
What did you want me to roll, Darby?
Perception, please.
Cool. So that is 18.
18. Okay. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything waiting for you outside the church.
Cool. Excellent. So yeah. And so yeah, Rue will kind of be like, as we proceed out, which I presume people are doing, Rue will be inspecting that. And sort of once it starts to become lighter, if everyone is indeed following them all, they will turn and say,
Okay, now please hold. It may be difficult to see for a bit, but stay close. If we all stay together, this will work perfectly, but it is only within a small area.
and if everyone's chill with that, which I presume they are, I'm not hearing any objections, Rue kind of straightens up a bit because, like, you know, we're getting closer to the church and stuff like that. And, like, from just between, like, seams in, like, the armor, the black armor that Rue seems to have, or, like, the parts of, like, their gloves, or, like, even their boots, just this kind of, like, just like a smoke machine, just seems to just seam out from everywhere, particularly out from like the gaps in their mask. And like, if it's not smoke, it doesn't have a smell. It's a thick cloud of fog, and this is channel divinity marine layer. So basically, that surrounds Rue and everyone within a 20-foot like radius in all directions. So very, very much like the mist now. To everyone. Basically what happens is like everyone that's near, like within about 5 feet of Rue can treat this as slightly obscured, but everyone viewing us is like we're heavily obscured basically. This is a pretty like dreary little island. Imagine it's probably not great weather anyway, so it wouldn't be too out of the question, but yeah, that's what's happening now. It's just like this big rush of as just like this fog just suddenly surrounds us.
And as you use that to make your way back to Rue's home, I'm not even going to make people roll stealth for that. Like, yeah, it's a pretty effective cover. All right.
Rue would most likely hear when this is cast, Tibble just under his breath going, absolutely marvelous.
Rue does seem to be like do a little head tilt, like bouncy head tilt for a moment, and then
Follow me, be quiet.
All right.
And then yeah, Rue will attempt to lead them. I assume at some point Neris or Alton talk to Rue and suggest that we're going to go back to Rue's place because they're being so sneaky with each other. I presume it at least tell Rue that's where we're going. I don't know if that's a discussion that needs to happen.
Look, we probably would have asked permission, I would assume, if that's okay to you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Most certainly is.
All right.
And then, Rue will lead them to Rue's house.
So meanwhile...
the outskirts,
yes. Meanwhile, as you are leading them there, Fishman, as you are making your way back or making your way towards the settlement after having spent the most part of the day scoping out the forest, discovering what you have discovered, you are greeted by a familiar figure, one 𝘧𝘦𝘀 who makes himself known to you. Monsieur Fishman.
𝘧𝘦, it's good to see you. Where is everyone else?
That is a long story. I will take you to them, and I will fill you in on the way. But basically, we met a robot man.
Yes.
We are going to his place. And the captain was replaced by an 𝘬𝘢, which we have since found the captain.
To journey into the town?
We are going to a building, a home on the outskirts of the town.
Seems I've missed quite a bit, actually.
It has been a long day.
Well, I have much to share, but let's get going. I'd rather just tell us once rather than to every person that come by one.
Yes. All right. Let us go.
How do we find them?
I know where they are going. Follow me. And so the two groups converge pretty much at the same time on Rue's little cottage. Everyone is reunited.
How is everyone looking?
I would say rough. I would guess.
Yeah.
We probably start as we're arriving at the house, probably at the same time as Fishman and 𝘧𝘦𝘀 appear as well. And in fact, probably really quickly, Rue will be like,
Hold, there appears to be some sort of reptilian individual approaching, or someone else that I can't quite make out.
As Fishman kind of pushes a fern aside, maybe some vinage as well, depending on how lush this area of the forest is, or he appears from the shrubbery. But yeah, he'll step out. Definitely being aware of his surroundings, but he'll probably see you guys before you see him. I'm not too sure about Rue though, so yeah, he'll step out along with 𝘧𝘦𝘀. You all look worse for wear. I hope you're all okay.
Yeah, it's been a shit day. And 𝘧𝘦𝘀.
It's good to see you, lad. Two quick things. First of all,
hang on, sorry. As you start speaking, is Tibble still bound?
Yeah.
Yep.
Fishman is going to is Tibble being held by Rue?
No.
Okay.
Just
cool.
Walking.
No, he's just bound and walking.
Fishman will interrupt and hover his hand over a weapon. And he'll say, "Is everything okay? You're bound."
I was getting to that, lad, but you jumped the sword on me a little bit. Two very quick things before I'm sure our companions will fill you in. First of all, I was replaced, to my knowledge, by a ooze. And to my own knowledge, I am who I think I am. But of course, I would think that if I was still ooze. So I've I suggested I'm in quarantine, I guess. So
𝘧𝘕 has kept me up to date regarding the ooze and your replacements.
So, current standing in command would be 𝘧𝘀. However, as your captain, if you choose so not to listen to or follow the orders of 𝘧𝘀, take this order from me. Both yourself and 𝘧𝘕 shall also currently be quarantined.
He'll say, I respect 𝘧𝘀 quite a fair bit, and I feel like he'll fill this role quite well. As to the quarantine, I'm very curious as to why. His hand is still over his blade, and he is looking at 𝘠 quite suspiciously.
Well, lad, the quarantine would be as we don't really know whether when 𝘧𝘕 went off to get you, that you are actually you, or that 𝘧𝘕 that has returned is actually 𝘧𝘕. I'm sure 𝘧𝘕 gets it, don't you, lad?
Mostly. Oui.
Whilst I'm happy to comply, this is quite unorthodox. Is there not a way I can prove that I am who I am? But again, I'm more than happy to comply. I just feel like, judging from what I've seen, this is not a place to be bound. Whether we're together or not, this is a very hostile environment.
I wasn't conscious, lad, so I can't speak to how similar to me I was. But I know that I trust 𝘧𝘀 with my life. And if he believed it was me, then it truly is something we should worry about.
Right. Well, then I guess
I do understand, though.
No other option.
It is pretty unorthodox. I'll try to work out some tests to see if we can figure it out for sure. And then Alton walks up to Fishman and sniffs him as well. What does he smell?
He smells of mud and dirt and foliage.
No sulfur.
He's not in his most presentable form. He has almost looked like he's been burying himself, essentially. But no damage or anything like that. He doesn't look like he's experienced any battle or anything like that. But yeah, again, he's still very suspicious. But first, may I ask who this is? Is this our robot friend? As he points to 𝘠.
That seems a bit uncouth.
I'm merely going off what I've been told thus far along my way.
𝘧𝘕, it's awfully rude of you, lad. I don't go around saying, yes, my drow spy. The Fishman, this is 𝘠, a friend.
𝘠 looks quite taken aback, especially when Fishman calls 𝘠 their robot their robot friend, and just kind of looks just a bit just keeps just doing that little head kind of jitter movement for a bit, and then it's
Yes, my name is Ru Friday. I'm a doctor of Acherin Island. You must be a crewmate, I presume, considering there is no combat starting initially and you seem familiar with everyone. What is your name, position of service, if I may ask?
Don't particularly go by one, but everyone seems to find the name Fishman acceptable.
Do you prefer to go by no name? you are fine with Fishman as your assigned name?
I really do not mind.
Understandable. Well, you are standing in front of my house to answer another question.
Sorry, did you ask why is he standing?
Oh, he said that he's like you're standing in front of his house. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Where we are.
Thank you. Well, apologies for any rudeness I may have caused just then. Did not mean to offend. Again, I'm just going off what I've been told, and this is quite a strange experience right now. He says as he pulls out some rope and starts binding his hands. He does have a tail to assist him with this as well. As he speaks with like a mouthful of rope, he'll say, a pleasure to meet your acquaintance. Let's probably get somewhere a little bit more safe. Like I said, this is very hostile and we do look quite close to town here. And the closer we get, the stranger things become. This land is sick, I've found.
Evidently it is. We should go inside. It might be a bit of a squeeze.
And then Rue kind of like very cautiously around Fishman will sort of like pass the rope to like Alton, who I presume Alton is just like in the not doing much. So we're just kind of just like tosses it at Alton. Yeah. It's a heavy rope. And then we'll like go and like unlatch the heavy like wooden door of Rue's house, which is again like very heavy, like cobblestone sort of like exterior. There's like it's just near the edge of the forest, so there's like dead plants all around, like just all sort of gnarled like trees kind of grown around this place. And Rue is sort of still emitting this sort of like fog everywhere, so it's like very the mist everywhere currently. But yeah, Rue will like sort of unlatch the house and then peer around inside with a perception check of 7, and then be like, "Come inside," and gesture inside for everyone.
Okay, good. Everyone goes inside, gets settled as best they can.
Yeah, it's cozy. It's clearly not made for like a tall person. And let alone a lot of people. And for people who've already been familiar with this place, that already know this, but like it's in brief, there's just stuff everywhere, little like knickknacks, things. It's obviously like built for like a bird folk, maybe someone else. Clearly it's been built for 3 people, but it's very dusty. There's like cobwebs everywhere. It looks like most of the stuff is not in use, and there's like dried like herbs pretty much everywhere, and like hunks of dried meat and stuff like that. But yeah, it's very, very cozy.
Quaint little place you have here.
Yes, I apologize. There is not much space for quarantine, as you all say.
That is fine.
Please make yourselves at home as much as you can.
I believe the apology rests on us, lad, for inviting ourselves into your home and filling it with so many people, but it is appreciated nonetheless.
It is nice for it to be full of more than just one, once again. It is of no consequence to me.
Well, it's appreciated regardless. It's a beautiful little home you have here. You should be proud of
it. It is a nice home. It was once my father figure's and another's, so I am glad you like it, though it has been empty for some time.
Sorry to hear that, lad.
It is fine.
And Rue kind of like turns their beak to like look around a bit. And they're just kind of like, again, sort of hunched over, but sort of like trying to take up as little space as possible, which is difficult because they're taller than Fishman. And Fishman is already very tall. And then they're just kind of like, others might be looking more warily at the people that are bound up, but Rue is looking very carefully at both Neris and Alton and Fishman and Nizen. And just appears to just be looking. That's all they're doing.
So I take it we are going to rest up. But what is the plan come morning? Are we going to bugger off? Are we going to face this thing head on?
Well, Nizen, lad. At the current stage, given the current situation, that isn't quite up to me or yourself or to the Fishman. It is up to our officers in control. Now, currently, I believe if it were up to me, the first point of call would be tonight to figure out the solution to quarantine. Maybe not even tonight, as soon as possible, really, for the benefit of, well, everyone. I then, if it were up to me, would believe it our civic duty to help eradicate this creature.
Yeah.
However, it is also my understanding that this may be a danger that is beyond us. So, I don't know, lad. The decision doesn't lie with me. And any suggestions I would make, or yourself for that matter, would make, are a double-edged sword of could be a great idea, but could also be coming from the ooze.
Was there not the scent? Alton?
Aye, but are we to assume that some smell is the only show of source?
You have a point.
I bust in here. Did you encounter the ooze when conscious?
Yes, I did. Well, I suppose. When we arrived, Mr. Fishman, sir, we separated quite early, as I thought it'd be best to try and establish from the little creatures of the forest as to whether they know what is going on or have seen your whereabouts, so we could find you and make contact. However, there was a friendly young badger fellow who, as it turns out, wasn't a young badger at all, but was in fact the ooze. Don't really remember much after that until, well, about an hour ago.
I do apologize.
But I was conscious, correct. However, I could just be saying that as the ooze.
I understand. And we have no means of knowing if there's any effective treatment or tactics against said ooze?
It's not my area of expertise, lad.
He looks around the room. John Travolta, coat style. No one?
If you hit it with enough damage, they'll die. We managed to track them down and find their base.
It
Not
didn't
enough.
split apart or anything when it died. It just died.
Yeah, it looked like it. Didn't spring up again or anything.
Did
If
not.
I may be so bold to say, The source of the problem we did not defeat. We seem to saw away part of it. We seem to attack others which were different colors, but were not displaying the same capabilities. So there has not been enough tests run to determine any sort of source of the problem. I do believe your quartermaster, who is acting commander currently, did collect books, but I do not know if they would have information.
Andrew just turns and looks at Neris. How's that blood looking?
So this conversation, Neris has been sort of sitting with his hands kind of steepled in front of him, and kind of propped up on his chin or in front of his mouth for the most part. He's been listening to everyone's suggestions, but also thinking about his own thing. So notes that I acquired may go into great detail about this particular entity, or at least what the creator of this particular entity wanted it to be. However, we do also know that this creature does use some form of high-level magics to try to convince its prey to remain motionless enough for it to physically that creature and presumably then take over. Or rather than take over, replace the unconscious body with one of its own design, which looks identical. I don't know necessarily how we can combat that, only that we should be aware of it. If we do intend to take this creature on, it should be an attack from multiple angles and at the same time where it does not have the chance to isolate someone. We need to work together as one unit. We need to be in constant communication with one another. And if any of us lose sight of another one for more than but a moment, we should treat them cautiously until proven otherwise.
Tibble just sort of holds up his little fastenings with the little grin and just gives Neris a nod.
These are good observations. If I may, I will also add that it has been theorized that there is a smell stronger around the presence of these things. I personally am not so good at smelling, but this has been an observation made.
Rue directs at Fishman.
Much, and I guess this is why I was smelt upon my arrival.
Yeah, sorry about that. You're clear of the sulfur smell. We'd be happy to know.
It is quite all right. And there is honestly no way to tell these copycats apart from the real thing. Surely there's logical questions you could ask, triggers of memory, shared experiences that you could query them about.
From my experience, this creature saps memories. I don't know whether it takes it into its own being. Obscured for me, and the entity that I encountered that I believed to be the captain for all intents and purposes, was the captain.
That's all I need to hear. So, and again, I believe I'm suspected of being said ooze, so do take this with a grain of salt, and I'm also not the one in command here, but I believe that we've got quite a tall task here. However, the heads of the Hydra, we are known to get to the job done. If that, I believe, should influence us a little bit more and motivate us to at least give it a couple more shots, and now especially that we're all here, have we located 𝘧𝘁𝘁? As he looks around the room, is 𝘧𝘁𝘁 here, or...?
Yes, hello, you've been sent for me?
Well, excellent.
Yes, I suppose that none of us have actually mentioned that to you now you're conscious. Yes, 𝘧𝘁𝘁, I'm not sure if you remember me, Tibble Clover. We met in passing at a few events a while back. Nefarious, bloody things they are. But we were sent by the Hydra as you stopped responding to, well, any form of communication.
Well, yes. I was probably, given the date you were saying, due home a little while ago. I would like to return home, but I don't wish to go without my notes. So if we could deal with this ooze so I could collect them from where I was staying, would be greatly appreciated.
Once again, not up to me, not current officer in command. However, if it were up to me, of course. But as is my duty as captain and also as the quarantined party, I will very much fall under the command of the current officer in command.
How much research did you get done? What were your notes on?
There was a old source of 𝘠𝘕𝘪𝘵 in the middle of the forest. I was taking day trips out every now and again to investigate, and I was nearing the completion of my research when I was captured.
𝘠𝘠𝘪𝘵.
Well, I hardly need to explain 𝘠𝘠𝘪𝘵 to an 𝘧𝘦𝘀, do I?
Rue again looks a bit like startled. Not startled, but just like uncomfortable.
No, you clocked that then.
There were subtle giveaways that living within a community over a span of time would make way to.
Yes, many tend to talk.
Yeah.
Well, you are correct.
You mentioned your research was nearing completion.
It was. I was probably just... I only really needed to finish surmising some stuff in my notes. And then I was going to work on getting out of here.
We will take this into consideration.
All right. And so, as you make discussions, make plans, probably head towards a rest, that is where we're going to leave it for this week's episode.
Okay. See you next week, everyone.
See you next week.
See you
See you next week.
week.
Goodbye.
Bye. I wait for Fishman to just turn up and be like, what the hell's been going on? Jeez.
That is the only thing I planned, is just for him to come in and be like, what the fuck?
That'd be so funny. Because literally what happened was like, Jana's got kidnapped on their ship, and everyone's like, well, this sucks. We got to find him at some point, I guess. All right, now Fishman, go scout ahead. And then he just goes and explores the forest and has a nice time while everyone gets brain jacked.
Yeah, he's actually like sipping mimosas and
Yeah.
he's having a real nice time. He found like a spa bath. That's what it really was. Natural
Yeah.
springs.
Like, oh, wow, you guys got
We,
on the wrong
we
side of
have
the
to-
island.